problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy, but from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I mean, I wanted you to, like, 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway, so why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say. Burning it down means that children are not going to have, you know, food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official. I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear...
Fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
There's this interesting conversation going viral right now online, is that Bernie Sanders essentially admitted that the Democrats rigged their elections, especially their primaries. As you saw, they put Kamala Harris in. Democratic voters say that Kamala Harris is the most qualified candidate in sense Hillary Clinton. But I'll disagree. Kamala Harris was not qualified to be president. She wasn't even qualified to run, based on her previous track record in the 2019 primary election. She lost before they even cast her first primary vote. Make it make sense. The critique of her failing in 2019, this is from CNN political strategists and analysts, was that she's a California Democrat who is not used to talking to non-Democrats. That was the MO on her. And then 5 years later, after that point, she still had the same bad habits she had in 2019. And in this interview, hey, Bernie's dropping some. I could see the hurt in his eyes. He felt like he got robbed an opportunity because of politics.
We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the...
Wow. Okay.
You know, that was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color. And you know, they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
You know, it's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election. And they started to label us the podcast bros. And said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does.
And this is kind of, I think this is kind of his way of letting, because this is an opportunity for people who don't agree with status quo of the Democratic Party to make their points heard, because their points now have more validity in this current reality, because Donald Trump just mollywopped the 2 women candidates that the Democrats set up all the odds in their favor in their system, and the American people rejected it. So here's Bernie Sanders talking about how Democrats traded in working class voters for Wall Street. Because if you look at the stats, in the 2024 election, people who made under $100,000 a year, majority of them voted for Donald Trump, while people who make over $100,000 a year voted for Democratic Party. If you look at out of the top 10 richest counties in the country, 9 out of the 10 voted for the Democrat in this election. So everything that Bernie's saying here is kind of true. And I kind of want to give my thoughts about why that ended up being the case and how the Democratic Party lost the working class. Let's get into this clip.
70s, 60s, Democrats caught on that you could raise a lot of money from wealthy people. Mm-hmm. So it gets back to campaign financing and all that stuff. So you got a democratic establishment now, which is funded by wealthy people. You have consultants who are really way out of touch with reality, who make a whole lot of money in campaigns. And working class is ignored. Donald Trump comes along and says, I care about you, which was a lie. So
I don't know.
And this is where Democrats get themselves in trouble. When you try to infer motive on someone else, you can't say that without proof. No critically thinking person would believe you without proof. What way is Donald Trump doesn't care about the working class? He levied tariffs, which who was screaming about tariffs? Who had the biggest problem with tariffs? Say it with me. Wall Street. Who does Wall Street fund? 90% of Wall Street funds who? Which party? The Democratic Party. So what are you talking about, Bernie Sanders? This is him playing politics now. Oh, which is a lie. And he's about to get some pushback. I digress. Let's get back into the clip.
I don't know if that's a lie. I'd give pushback on that. I think that it has to be proven that it's a lie.
all right, I'll prove it.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you.
I'm waiting.
And you're right. I could look through rose-colored glasses, but the idea, I think that when people are struggling, anybody who goes, "Hey, I'm going to help you out."
70s.
So yeah, he was playing politics there, right? And the reason why the Democratic Party lost the working class is because the Democratic Party started realizing that they can replace the working class with immigrants. Because in the 1960s, let me go back to Bill Clinton's era. Bill Clinton was what they called a blue dog Democrat, right? He strong labor unions, whatever. And what was the biggest threat to labor unions? Immigrants coming into this country. Democrat Party, look, if you look at 2008, Hillary Clinton, she wanted penalties, she wanted fines for people who come into this country illegally, which I would agree with. That would be like a compromise. Oh, we don't want to deport them, but we want them to pay heavy fines like that illegal mother out in Miami with 3 American kids who was supposed to be deported 20 years ago, but decided to ignore the court order and stayed in this country, and she racked up $1.8 million in fines. Either you leave the country or you pay this fine to stay. I can agree with that. That used to be the Democratic position in 2008. And the Democrats don't want to admit that illegal mass migration, not just illegal immigration, but mass migration, right? If you don't thoughtfully understand how much people you can bring into your country per year, you just let anyone come into your country, it hurts the best interest of the working class. It suppresses their wages because of under the table payments. Cheaper labor comes in, which hurts low-skilled workers, which is what is commonly attributed to the working class. The Democratic Party forgot all that because why? They found a political benefit for illegals. Illegals are going to serve as the servant class in our country. And this is a bandage that the Democratic Party fell into. This is why they fight for illegals so hard. Illegals have a high probability of voting Democrat. This is why they want them in. And this is why they lost the working class. Donald Trump points this out. They're taking black jobs. Construction, right? End of the day, black people, large percentages of black men. I'm going to tell you a personal story. When I was growing up, a lot of dudes I went to college with, after class, they did early morning class like I did. They went to work construction. That's how they were making their way through college, right? That was a good way of making a decent amount of money as a college kid. My friends used to do that. Black friends, they used to do that. They used to go do construction after class. Okay, hey, I'm out. Go do construction, make a lot of money. Illegals compete in that. Cheap labor undercut that. The Democrats seem to want to forget their past. In California, I forgot his name, Chavez, some guy. There used to be Democratic activist groups that used to cross the border in Mexico and attack illegals who trying to cross the border. Democrats used to do that. But he wants to sit here and pretend that, oh yeah, they forgot the working class. No. They just found an easier path to political power. And it's not through the working class, because the working class, you actually have to follow through what you promise, or else you get voted out. These illegals, they get taken advantage of. And in my estimation, I believe Democrats see illegals politically as an easier mark to get power. That's my thoughts. Here's his thoughts about Kamala Harris running for president.
He ran on this idea of we're going to make it better for you, instead of Kamala seemed to run on this idea like, hey, it's good, we're going to keep doing the exact same thing. which is a losing strategy.
You got it.
So
That was her bloody consult. I mean, I know Kamala. She's a friend. She's very smart. That was what her bloody consultants told her to say. I begged them. I'm just
No. We're not going to do this. See, this is the problem that I have with a lot of people, right? And I see this especially with Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party. They blame everyone but her. End of the day, it was her choice to listen to them or not, to take the advice or not. Because end of the day, advice, consultancy, it's a gift, right? If someone give you a gift and you found out the gift got caused harm to you, yeah, you can blame the person giving you the gift, but end of the day, you still accepted the gift. You still had your part to play in acting on that information. Because end of the day, no one can force you to do anything. We all have free will here. So I don't believe this excuse he's about to give Kamala Harris.
between you.
Why
I mean, it
can't
was-
she push back? Like at a certain, like I don't-
Exactly.
You're right. Look, there's no argument.
And this is the problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. He ran on this.
Hey, man, Democrats, this is why y'all unpopular too. This is one of the reasons why you guys are unpopular. And the fact that these are the kind of dirty games that they played, right? And then they want to run on this tour. Oh, we fighting against the oligarchy. When essentially what they're doing here is they're admitting that they're admitting that the Democratic Party is part of the oligarchy. Hollywood actors, even these guys sitting in this podcast, they're not regular folks like me and you living in some suburb somewhere in some country. These guys are famous comedians, actors, entertainers, millionaires, I believe. He's sitting down with them. Bernie Sanders is the same guy who said, I'm not going to sit with the peasants. I mean, I'm not going to sit with the regular folks while I got to go out here and spread socialism around the world. I have to take a private jet because of XYZ excuse here. As much as he likes to pretend that he's still part of the working class, Democrats use the working class as a pawn to a game. Hey, we want to manage the working class. We want to be on top of the manage. We want to be able to rule the working class in a way where they do things in our best interest, but we have the power and control. That's what he wants. But I digress. Let's get back into this. It's some more clips.
The hatred that we felt in 2016, 2020 from the Democratic establishment. I'll give you an example. We would do rallies and we have thousands of people, often young people of color coming out, working class people coming out. They were great, full of energy. Yeah. And then we go to Democratic Party events. There'd be a few hundred people, mostly older, whiter, wealthier. And you saw.
So this is what I'm talking about. Look. As much as, some people don't like my political commentary, some people think I'm too biased. Some people think I look at things too one way. I'm a human being. Like I said, an honest bias is better than a dishonest objectivity. You see he's telling you the contrast. I already explained the game to you. Democrats see themselves as people who's supposed to be in charge of you, and you're just a pawn to act out their vision. Like a commander and his soldier. Your only job is to obey. Hey, workers, vote Democrat because we have your best interests at heart. Hey, but how does mass migration help us? We have your best interests at heart. You want free healthcare, don't you? Well, I don't care what you agree with. You need this. You want this. That's why they want to top down. So the rich and the elite, they get to make the decisions, and the workers and the lower class, they're supposed to be the pawns that act it out. You're supposed to do the activism. You're supposed to be the attack dogs. You're supposed to be the defenders while they sit back and set the direction. But when other people call out, hey, they're going in the wrong direction. Their ideas are not sustainable. I don't feel comfortable with these people having so much control and influence over my life. You're supposed to act like the attack dogs and attack all the dissent. Cut off family over politicians that don't even know your name, don't even know your face. But you want to cut off family for Democrats. Make it make sense. This is how out of touch a lot of Democrats and their supporters are with the regular American people. And certain Democrats, like Andrew Schultz, Bill Maher, they're starting to notice that a lot of Americans are going, yo, Americans are not like agreeing with us with most things. We're out of the loop. And they're trying to get back in the loop. But I digress.
Well, the clash. And the establishment did not want to open the door. They hated the idea that all these people whose hands were a little bit dirty, who didn't have PhDs or weren't wealthy, imagine walking in, it's my party, man. You ain't getting in.
So So the oligarchy, you're telling me, is in the Democratic Party, like the Republicans were saying, right? And this is my argument. When people are making their narratives, their framings, I'm going, what's that based on? Is it based on your feelings? Then I can ignore it. If it's based on some evidence, hey Kenny, Republicans will tell me, hey Kenny, the 10 wealthiest counties, 9 out of 10 of them vote Democrat. Hey Kenny, you know Wall Street? 80-90% of Wall Street, depending on the firm, votes are registered and donates to the Democratic Party. I'm like, wow. Everyone hates Wall Street, but Wall Street is the biggest contributor to the coffers of the Democratic Party. Is it no wonder in 2008 that Obama bailed out Wall Street? But you got lower class, you got the working class sitting here supporting the Democratic Party like they're going to do something for them when they're being funded by the very same people that the working class people like to hate on. And this is the funny part that Bernie Sanders don't want to admit is that the working class see through all the BS. They see the game already. They see, oh, Democrats just wants to use us for our vote, and once they get our vote, they don't give us nothing. I'm gonna take Donald Trump for at least because Donald Trump is a deal maker. Donald Trump will give you deals. Hey, black people, what you got to lose? Donald Trump said that to y'all. He's if you put a good deal in front of Donald Trump, it's transactional, and I think that's one of the number one reasons why I personally voted for Donald Trump, because I know this is a deal. Here, if I get your vote, this is what I'm gonna do for you. And he went out and he did exactly what he promised he was gonna do. I voted for that. Everything that Donald Trump did, I voted for that. Or in some way, trust his vision enough to trust his judgment, trust his approach. What Democrats are selling me, nothing but narratives, nothing but excuses, nothing but lies in certain cases, nothing but accusations about what the other guy is. Their opinion about the other guy. That's all they're selling me. They're not selling me any results. They're not selling me any outcomes. Kamala Harris couldn't even sell you on a result because all the results and outcomes were bad. I would not do anything differently than Joe Biden. Final last words of Kamala Harris and her campaign. But you want to pretend that the American people were duped into voting for Donald Trump. If you believe that, sorry, you're one of the out-of-touch Democrats that I'm talking about. But I digress. Let's continue with the clip.
Yes.
We will fight you in the most ruthless ways that we can. And that's the struggle. Are they going to open the door, or are they prepared to lose elections literally and maintain
the status quo,
go down with the Titanic? So
yep.
The hatred that we felt.
And that's what you get the sense for the Biden story. The Biden story is, hey, we're going to go down with the ship because we know better. We know what's best for you. And as long as Democrats operate with that kind of line of thinking, they're destined to lose. And I think I want to play this final clip before I end off this video of him not even wanting to endorse AOC because he knows AOC is not very practical. Actually, AOC is not very effective to the point where her own constituents in her district that she represents are angry with her. She can't even hold rallies in her own district because the people she claims to represent are tired of her BS.
Are you going to run for president?
Please ask yes. I'm 83 years of age, so that is, I think I've run my last race. But,
now, does that mean...
Zero fair races.
Does that mean that this oligarchy tour is you passing the baton?
No, don't look at it like that. The oligarchy tour is...
I think we're all looking at it like that.
No, it's not a passing the baton. I happen to, I think Alexandria is great, but it's not my job to determine who the new leaders are. People have each of them. As I mentioned, in the House, there are a lot of great people. In the Senate, there's some.
I think this is Bernie's, like, if I were to say, Kenny, what was Bernie's biggest weakness, right? Because unlike Trump will take sides. Trump will pick some people. He said, I think this person's the next one up. Trump will take a position. Bernie is a little too passive when it comes to the internal politics of his party. You have an opportunity to kind of influence the next generation and set the direction of your party to a different standard, regardless if I agree with that standard or not. Objectively, that's what's going on. And Bernie Sanders is like, oh, I'm just going to let things play out. He's leaving it up to chance. Donald Trump is not like that. He don't leave anything up to chance. He will try to influence things in a direction he believes is best. And I think this is one of the number one reasons why Bernie lost so much support after his 2016 run. Because he just went along with the Democratic Party. He went along with Hillary Clinton. And you saw in the intro, people were calling him out for that. It's like, yo, why are you doing this? They screwed you over. Why you ain't trying to hold them accountable? Because to me, and this is my calculus, socialists care about control and power and the means justifying the ends. Hey, If this means we get power, I'm that much closer to power, I'll do it. And that's the guiding principle, because these people believe they know what's best for your lives.
Good people. And there are people who are not in office right now. But the oligarchy tour was an effort to say to the country that there are people all over America who are going to stand up to this oligarchy. They don't want a government of billionaires. They're going to stand up to authoritarianism.
We don't want a government of billionaires. Well, Donald Trump's a billionaire. People around him, Scott Bassett is a billionaire. Elon Musk is a billionaire. But they're doing things in the best interest of American people, because at the end of the day, regardless if they're a millionaire, billionaire, working class, wealthy, upper middle class, they're all American. And I think that's the number one thing. America first. Hey, look, I don't care if a guy running office is a billionaire. Does he represent the best interest of Americans as a whole? Do I believe that? Yes, I do. I'm putting him into power. I'm not going to discriminate based on class. And that's what the Democratic Party inherently represents. And I think the government that people are more concerned about is a government that's acting in their best interest. And time again, Democrats have shown themselves to not act in the best interest of the American people, but the best interest of themselves, their donors, right? And I always say this line, and I'll end it off there. I believe half of Republicans have the best interest of the American people at heart. But from what I see from the Democratic Party, 80% of them don't have the best interest at heart of the American people. On any given day, I can only say 20% of Democrats have the people's best interest at heart. Maybe Ro Khanna, maybe John Fetterman, right? Maybe Dean Phillips, but he's no longer part of the party. Those are the few names that I believe, some Democrats that I believe have America's best interest at heart. So, end of the day, this oligarchy tour, you can't speak about the oligarchy unless you making pointed criticisms about how the Democratic Party operate, because they're in more control of the oligarchy. Wall Street controls that party. Pharmaceutical companies control that party, controls you. When RFK points out all the negative outcomes of our current institutions and the results that they produce in our society, you defend it. You defend status quo. You say you're about healthcare and all that stuff, but what's the point of having free healthcare if it's bad healthcare? If it's healthcare that gives you bad health results, bad health outcomes? And this is the problem that I think many socialists and Bernie Sanders people, many people have with Bernie Sanders, that he doesn't take a position. He doesn't really fight for change. He does more superficial stuff. It seems like it's more based on optics than actual reality and action. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts, your perspective in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please share this video if you feel so inclined. It really does help me out in the algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.